Think about your last conversation about politics. Was it calm, measured, or did it get heated in 5 minutes? Now, think about your screen time. How many hours do you spend watching commentary, reading political essays, or arguing online? In our era, politics isn't just something we do, it's something we consume, and that shift is changing us. 1. Effective polarization. Emotions over ideas. The first thing to understand is that polarization today is not just about ideological disagreement over policies. It's increasingly effective polarization, harboring strong negative emotions toward the other side. The opponent is no longer merely wrong, they're seen as malicious, ignorant, or even dangerous. This trend predates the internet. Scholars trace rising effective polarization to the era of cable news and partisan talk radio in the 1990s and 2000s. What changed in recent years is the speed, scale, and automation of amplification. Once politics became media, and then digital media, it began to feed on itself. 2. The media landscape. Why outrage is currency? To understand polarization, you must follow the incentives in the media ecosystem. Attention is the scarce commodity. Headlines that provoke fear, anger, or moral shock get clicks. Outrage pays not just in ad revenue, but in engagement. This pushes writers, editors, and platforms to lean into conflict, exaggeration, and framing politics as existential warfare. Fragmentation and niche media. The era of 3 TV networks is long gone. Now there is an infinite subdividing of audience segments. Left, right, outright, out-left, center-left, libertarian, etc. People seek media that confirms their worldview. Disinformation, propaganda, and amplification. State and non-state actors have learned to exploit these media incentives, seeding disinformation that aligns with existing biases, then amplifying it via social platforms. When fake news stories drum up outrage, they feed directly into the same system. The more polarized the content, the stronger it spreads. All told, the media no longer just reports politics, it participates in shaping it. 3. Algorithms, echo chambers, and filter bubbles. This is where the digital shift intensifies what was already underway. Echo chambers and selective exposure online, many people surround themselves, often unintentionally, with like-minded voices. Contrary views are filtered out. That dynamic reinforces beliefs and makes it harder to perceive nuance. Algorithmic amplification platforms prioritize content that drives engagement. That tends to favor more extreme, emotionally charged, or controversial content. Over time, this nudges users toward more polarizing content. Some scholars call this algorithmic radicalization, the rabbit hole effect. A user might start exploring a moderate commentary, but the algorithm, seeking to maximize engagement, gradually recommends more intense or extreme voices, pulling them down a more extreme path. This is sometimes dubbed the outright pipeline, though variants apply on the left too. Modeling studies also show that when people preferentially interact with close opinions, polarization becomes stronger and more stable. When media plus algorithms plus human psychology combine, you get a turbocharged polarization engine. 4. Identity, sorting, and zero-sum politics. Polarization in the West is also driven by deeper social dynamics. Identity becomes politics over time. Party labels, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, are no longer abstract policy bundles. They become symbols of personal identity, race, religion, region, class. Thus, criticizing a party feels like critiquing the person. Differences become existential. Social sorting and echoing real divides, economic inequality, geographic segregation, and demographic shifts by race, education, or ideology have sorted populations. People increasingly live among those culturally and politically like themselves, reinforcing in-group, out-group mentalities. Feedback loop between polarization and inequality. Research shows that high inequality and group-based grievances amplify effective polarization. When people feel economically insecure, they gravitate toward tribal politics, seeing us versus them as the frame for suffering and control. So polarization isn't just about opposing opinions. It's about bundles of identity, belonging, status, resentment, and fear. 5. Institutions weaken, trust eroded. All this rancor exerts pressure on democratic institutions, declining trust in neutral institutions, courts, and judicial system, the press and news media, academia and academics. Even science are increasingly viewed through a partisan lens. If you don't trust a referee, you'll assume they're rigged. That weakens the social baseline for debate. Democratic backsliding and destabilization. Polarization makes it easier for leaders to justify heavy-handed moves, discrediting the opposition, rewriting rules, attacking norms. In many countries, toxic polarization is now considered a major threat to democracy, stalemate, and gridlock. Because cooperation is seen as weakness or betrayal, compromise vanishes. Governance becomes harder. Moderate voices are squeezed out. The middle ground becomes politically unsafe. 6. Why the center fades. One of the saddest outcomes is that the center, once the space of pragmatic negotiation, is now a dangerous no man's land. Being a moderate is seen as being soft. Either side accuses the center of complicity, cowardice, or betrayal. That pushes moderate voices to take sides for safety. Nuanced arguments and internal doubts don't travel well in share-based media. They're edited out. Subtlety gets drowned in sound bites. Emotional shutdown of engagement. Many choose to disengage or retreat from political talk altogether, leaving the loudest voices, usually extremes, to dominate discourse. 7. The personal cost and the stakes. This polarization is not an academic issue. It reorders our inner worlds and our relationships. Conversations become less about inquiry and more about signaling and branding your tribe. You argue in order to win, not to understand. Many avoid political talk in their families or social circles to avoid conflict, or they retreat into homogeneous groups where safe opinions are guaranteed. We see real fractures: co-workers, siblings, neighbors. When beliefs are identities, disagreements can feel personal attacks. A society divided from within. When half your neighbors are your enemy, metaphorically or literally, the public realm fractures. Cooperative projects, mutual aid, social trust, even basic civility suffer. So that's the anatomy of polarization in the West, a blend of media economics, algorithmic pressures, identity dynamics, and institutional unraveling. The question isn't whether polarization will intensify, it's how far it can go and what we do from here. Before we cross the ocean and look at Southeast Asia, let me pause for a second. If this breakdown of Western polarization resonates with you, or even if you strongly disagree, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and tell me in the comments, how do you experience political talk where you live? Do you see the same polarization or something different? I'll be reading and folding your perspectives into future episodes.